Hello.
G'day, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome to our live stream of our 5 p.m. service.
Yeah, it's not 5 p.m. though, so
It is not.
It is 4:45.
4:45. It's 4:45 service.
This is Andy. My name
It's
is
changed
Church,
again.
and
I'm Em.
we've
Yeah,
got
hi.
Em here as well.
Hi.
So we thought we'd just have a little bit of fun before we start things off a bit more seriously at 5 o'clock. We'd like to do this every now and then when we're particularly in lockdown. Bit of a downer, in particularly this bloody one.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of them have been like, yes. I think they've all been downers in
Oh,
different
for sure.
ways.
But this one in particular feels like, guys, we just did this like
I reckon
3
it-
weeks ago.
Oh, that, and then 29 cases.
Yeah,
It was
true.
like,
Yeah,
why?
yeah.
There was 0 cases for 4 days.
You could maybe make a case for the introverts for one of the lockdowns going, I wouldn't mind a week off. It's been a while. But this one...
Yeah, I was like, Jetten doesn't mind it.
yeah. Like, we've been out for ages. Like, but this one, I don't think anyone's, no one's enjoying this one. Andy,
Yeah.
Andy Barris,
hello.
tell us what are we going to be playing this evening?
Yeah, we're playing a game that I've just discovered in the last couple of weeks, thanks to Joel in my life group, who hooked me up with this one. It's called Gartic Phone. Don't ask me about the origins of that.
I
name,
assumed it was
but-
something to do with Antarctica to begin with, and then you were like, it's a
No.
drawing game. And
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
is a
that
drawing
does
game.
not match up.
If you know the drawing game
No Arctic
Telestrations,
Or Scroll.
that.
Scroll is
Scroll,
the
I
same.
don't know that one.
Yeah, well,
Sure.
no, it's the same as Telestrations.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's that. That's what we're playing, just digitally. So we've got the three of us, and Belle is playing behind the scenes as well. Go, Belle. Hey. Yeah. So we will get cracking into that. Jet, and you'll just need to turn off the output on ProPresenter so Belle can see her screen. There we go. And Belle, if you can click start on that for us. So basically the way this game works is we'll be given a prompt. We'll have to come up with a prompt. As it says there, write a sentence. So this can be any sentence. It can be about bananas or space or monkeys or whatever. We've only got half the time left. So I'm now scrambling to write a phrase that doesn't include those words that I just said, and I'm struggling.
All right, so we write a sentence.
Yeah.
And then other people are going to have to draw it.
Correct. So
Right, okay.
now we have to draw whatever's on our prompt. And
I think someone misspelt one of the, unless I just don't know what that is.
Okay, now...
that's probably me because
Okay, yeah,
I
okay.
was trying to talk
That's okay.
and do it at the same time.
Okay, now we've got to draw it using I'm using a mouse on a couch.
Yeah,
So-
you're using...
So
That's a pretty significant handicap, I would say.
Me.
Trackpad, which is just such a bad time.
Well, just to add to the list of complaints, I'm using my phone.
I'm also attempting to reconnect to the internet right
Oh, I
now.
didn't realise there were
no.
colours. That's
I'm-
kind of nice.
Well, I'm sort of back. It's put me back slightly. I'm at a slight time disadvantage,
Okay.
but I'm going to soldier on.
I don't know what that second word is. I'm sorry. I'm just doing what I can.
Oh, it's like 10 seconds. Oh,
Oh,
good luck whoever has to work off this because it's a whole thing. Okay, so now we've got
Wow.
an image.
Okay.
And we have to describe that image.
What?
Which then someone will then use as their next prompt.
I would love to know who drew
I
this.
apologise for mine. Mine did reconnect right at the end, so you might not have got the whole thing. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
I had no
Yeah,
time to do
yeah,
that.
time.
Oh,
Time
whoa,
is-
it's fast. All
You
right.
don't get much time. Yeah.
Oh, gee.
Okay.
Is there an erase?
There is on the.
Oh, it's okay.
there's like an
It's all right.
undo
I
and
just-
there's a
I just-
eraser.
Someone did not get theirs in on time. Okay.
Kirk's lost it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go. I just got to stay G rated, doesn't it?
Yep. please don't. Get inappropriate, Kirk.
Oh, geez. This is quite dark, I must say.
I think mine stayed G rated.
Good. Because we'll
Just.
see it all at the end.
Just.
Yeah. All right. I've actually finished on time. I had a lovely
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try not to look at the screen, but I'm just sort of
'cause
seeing
we
what.
can see,
Also
we can see
wondering
Belle's
what
looking
people are
at.
seeing at home.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't see anything. I'm concentrating. I'm really committed to this drawing.
Well, that's good.
You are an art teacher, aren't you? No, you're a drama teacher, aren't you?
I'm
But You're in
both.
that sphere.
I'm
You
both.
are an art teacher as well.
okay.
Yeah, I
So
predominantly
we've
am an
now,
art
We've
teacher
now
these days.
finished. We've done all the drawing. So Belle, on your screen, I think you can hit start on that, and that'll show us the album. But just put that up on the stream so they can see it. So
All right,
let's hit
so that-
start. So now this is going to go through and say what it was. So nauseous Popeye celebrating.
Oh,
Oh, this was my
no.
first one. So there's Popeye, and he's got his spinach and
What I was going to say was,
man week.
yeah, I was going to say,
And there it is. Man week. Is that the G
That's
rated?
the G rated one
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I was going to say, man with biceps celebrates getting $1, but
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enjoying
time.
that?
Oh, okay. So this was me, Space Mooney. I was going to try Space Monkey,
Oh, it only does my little phone screen. That's so lame.
the solar system. What were you trying to draw? Just space.
Space. And then I
Space,
assumed
yeah.
you said moon, and
Yeah,
I was
sure.
like,
There's the solar system. Okay, that worked out all right. There's no monkeys, but that's my bad.
oh, is that what it was?
Well, I couldn't. I
Oh.
couldn't type properly because
Yeah,
I was trying to talk
no,
at the same
sure,
time.
you were.
It's really hard. Captain Kirk, unicycling hippo. Okay.
So M's actually Captain Kirk, not me.
No,
even though my
no,
name
Kirk is
Sorry,
Captain
just to be
Kirk.
clear. So then I had to
okay.
draw it, and I
Writing
had
it.
connection errors, so the head did not get completed.
And there's mine.
hey,
Writing-
nice
writing
picture.
Yeah, all right, we got close.
I rate that.
Got close.
Cool. And the last one. So this is actually Kirk. Snuffy and Big Bird are
It's meant to be grumpy.
grumpy.
So that got cut off too.
Okay, so there's Big Bird.
I love that.
Amputee Big Bird. And drawing. Oh! Gosh!
Oh,
So
ouch.
dark.
Well, that's what I said. I was like, I think it's pretty dark over
Wow.
here.
An amazing picture though.
That's good time. Yeah.
That is an outstanding picture.
Art teacher, what can I say?
Just joining us. We're playing a game. It's like Telestration. We've had to draw various things.
Does anyone win that game, or is it just
No,
purely
it's
for funsies?
Pure funsies.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think we're all winners though. It's the-
So it's called Gartic Phone. Now,
Gartic Phone,
we probably don't have time to do another round, I don't think. But we could recommend that as like we're going to be in lockdown for at least another 5 days.
Yeah.
Now, they actually recommend you can just do that over the phone. Like you can actually call, like just talk to people.
Sure.
When I saw the way it was
Yeah.
demoed
Yeah,
online.
you could. Yeah.
You just call people up and
That's
talk,
true,
and,
because you
and
don't
sort of
need to see anyone else's screen. And even in the end, it comes up on my screen here. What,
what
everything
everyone's
is. Yeah,
done,
that's
yeah.
true. You could just, you could old school it.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I close it then? Is that
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
Close it up. So
It's quite rude sitting here on my phone.
so if your internet's running poorly or whatever, you can actually just. Does that work? Does that work?
What do you mean?
Doing it over the phone?
It would, yes.
Yeah.
Because, I did it with friends over Discord
Yeah.
the other night, and we didn't see each other's screens or anything. It was just a voice call,
Yeah.
essentially. So, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you could have a group. So maybe if your household and another household, you were both on speakerphone or something,
Yep.
that could work. Yeah. Whatever.
Absolutely. So good fun. Check that stuff out. If you're part of our social network, Facebook group, then chuck stuff recommendations for some good lockdown games.
Yeah.
Because people are always putting out new stuff, and there's always good things to get involved in. What's the name of the other one that's similar to this?
Telestrations or Scroll are both really similar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are they both free to play?
No,
They're not
they're
online.
offline.
Yeah, they're.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
actual board games.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there is something similar online.
Right.
I haven't looked for it though, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
probably.
Cool.
Yeah. We did have a list of games last year that were recommended.
Yeah, there was like it's actually an active Google Doc.
Yeah.
In fact, Andy Fidock, if you're watching, maybe you can post it in the chat because we did have a link to it at some point. Or Kylie might have it as well. Because someone just very kindly was like keeping it updated.
Yeah.
And it's like there's like 100 free
there's so many.
games you can play
that's
over
nice.
Zoom and.
If it doesn't get into the chat, which it might not, I'll put it in our social media groups this week. So make sure you join the St. John's Meeting Place group or the Young Adults Facebook group. And I can put it in there, and then you can add your own recommendations and stuff.
I mean, how many
As
times
well.
have we played Among Us in lockdown?
So good.
So many.
So good.
But like I think it'd be good to have something else
Yes.
if there's an alternative.
Hey, Among Us is 15 players now. It's a whole new ball game.
Is it?
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, we did something
Yeah.
Among Us the other night.
That's really full
It
on.
was great. We had 3 imposters.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. Very cool. Yeah. People are streaming into the chat now. Warwick has clearly got 2 screens going on at the moment because he is also commentating the football, which your team's playing at. Are they okay?
Yes, but I don't really want football updates during church.
Oh,
Thanks,
I
everybody.
completely agree with that.
I'll
I've had
check
so
it
many
at the
people
end.
try to ruin it for me, and I don't appreciate it. Like, no.
We'll check it at the end.
Yeah.
Now, we should say at the end of today's service, we are going to have some Q&A.
Yeah.
We just thought, why not? We can do it.
Why not?
We've got the phone here, so people can text their questions in.
Yeah.
And they're anonymous, aren't they? And then it gets wiped.
Yeah,
frequently.
we don't
Yeah.
don't check who's sending them in, that sort of thing. So, can we've got the number somewhere in the slides?
You're asking a lot.
We'll put the number in the we'll put the number in the YouTube chat very, very shortly. In fact, I'll do that in a moment. But also, we will get the number up on the screen at times during the stream, and that is the way. Hang on, let me just put it in the chat right now. So send your questions in, particularly based on our current series, Our Deepest Desires. Tonight is week 3. You can send them in from the talk that I pre-recorded a couple of days ago that we'll play during tonight's service, but also thinking back to the previous couple of weeks. And so we'll sort of finish the service tonight and then jump into some live Q&A. And so we'd love to hear your questions, anything vaguely connected with this series, or, I don't know, throw it open to even if you've got questions about how our church is going to be responding to lockdown number 6 and the whole situation.
Yeah.
Happy to take questions about that as well.
Yeah.
As usual, we don't promise great answers. We don't even promise an answer beyond.
Yeah, I was going to be like,
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes we can't promise answers even.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's fine.
But we do promise we will say, I don't know, if we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will
Just
take your questions
make some
seriously.
sort of random thing up.
Yeah.
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 Cool. All right. Well, it's 1 minute to 5. I can see our countdown clock. So why don't we take a pause on this? We'll ready ourselves for church, and then we'll be back in just a moment with our 5 p.m. service.
Cool.
Hello, and
Hey.
welcome to church. My name is Andy. It's great to have you here for our service today. It's always a good start when we have a green screen, but that's all right. Sorted that out. Hey, Em's here too.
Hey.
Yep, still on me. Here we go. Hey, there.
Hey. Hey.
You're doing great. Appreciate you guys. Welcome to church. Em.
Yeah, massive welcome to you wherever you may be, your couch, your bedroom, outside. Weather was pretty nice today.
It was, wasn't it? Nice and sunny.
Yeah, special shout out to anyone joining us for the first time. But yeah, great to have you with us.
Yeah, it is great if you're joining us for the first time. We would love to connect with you, and you can do that on our website, stjohnsdc.org.au is the best place to go to do that. You can find out more about our church. You can drop us a line if you want to, get to know us a bit better. You can even, if you use the connect button, you can arrange a catch up with one of our staff team. We can help get to know you even in these times of lockdown. We can try and get to know you that bit better and make those connections. It's good to be doing church online. It's hard, being at home and separate, but it is good that we can still continue to gather digitally. Meet to get to know Jesus better, to worship him and to hear from God's word, the Bible.
Yeah.
That's just a few of the things that we'll be doing tonight. We've got pre-recorded music from our band that we'll be singing along with or reflecting in that music with. We'll be praying together at times. And we're continuing our series. It's one of those really well-timed talks, I think, this week. Because we're doing this series, called Our Deepest Desires, right?
Yeah.
And Kirk is preaching for us.
Punchy heading. It's just
a good one.
It's a real hook.
Yeah. What are our deep desires? And Kirk, our associate minister, who's here playing games with us earlier, and he's sitting off to my left a bit. Yeah, he's got the phantom hand again.
Yeah, phantom hand.
Classic. He will be bringing us a talk that he recorded earlier in the week, looking at our deepest desire for comfort.
Yeah.
Which
hits pretty close to home.
It does, yeah, because it's so easy to get comfortable. You're like, oh, yes, we're out of lockdown. Things are good again. Oh, bang, back in lockdown. And so, we'll be looking at that and how we can wrestle with our desire for comfort and what that might lead to and things like that. Yeah.
Usually have some sort of kids activity if we are in person. There are some links in the description for some kids activities if you want to engage with that.
Yeah. Now, at our evening service, we've been pausing at the beginning of our services to reflect on the broader COVID situation.
Yeah.
Now in Australia, it is getting a bit worse, especially in New South Wales at the moment. But certainly around the world, there are really awful things happening, still happening.
Really horrible situations.
We think about 200-300 cases a day. Well, there are countries that are looking at 20,000, 30,000 and several hundred deaths per day. So we're going to take a moment now to pause and to reflect on that and to ask God to, just a really simple prayer that we've been praying for a number of months now. Ask God to be with those people who are affected more by COVID. We'll put the start of that up on the screen now and just have a quick read of these words and just dwell on them for a moment, and then Em will lead us in these words, and there's another little bit after that as well.
Cool. So, I'll just kick us off with this prayer. So, may God be with the scared, the sick, and the dying. And may the global community come together at this time of need to protect every precious life. Amen.
Amen. Let's now sing some worship songs with our band.
My Saviour, my Redeemer, hallelujah for all you've done. Let's sing for all you've done.
Forever, I will never be the same.
So he's going to come and play the guitar. He's putting on his cool sunglasses, looking pretty cool. Time to pick up your instruments if you have them and join with us. Here we go. Good news. Good news. Jesus was born. Good news. He died on the cross. Good news. He rose again. Good news. He's coming back soon. Good news. Jesus was born. Good news. He died on the cross. Good news. He rose again. Good news. He's coming back soon. God sent Jesus, his only son, to save me from my sin. He's the only one who can change my heart and make me his own. He saved me, he loves me, my heart is his own. Good news, Jesus was born. Good news, he died on the cross. Good news, he rose again. Good news, he's coming back soon. Play guitar now, or play your instruments, or do this beat. God sent Jesus. God sent Jesus, his only son, to save me from my sin. He's the only one who can change my heart and make me his own. He saved me, he loves me, my heart is his own. Good news, Jesus was born. Good news, he died on the cross. Good news, he rose again. Good news, he's coming back soon. Good news, he's coming back soon. Good news, he's coming back soon. Turn off the drum machine. Thanks for singing with us.
Well, hello, we're back, and we have some notices.
Yeah. And now I have a blanket, so big win for me. Oh, dear. Okay. If there's anything that you would like to know about the work that we do here at St. John's and connect with us, maybe you want to get involved in giving or whatever, it's all there on our website. Just nearly forgot it, so I'm going to refer to it so I don't completely stuff it up. So it's stjohnsdc.org.au. Yeah, there's links to our YouTube channel and our digital service and information about our services. Other stuff.
You can also find out about giving there, Em.
Oh, I did mention that briefly, but you can go back to, we can talk about that some more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also the people that we partner with. So 15% of the money that we receive from giving goes towards a number of different organisations. So you can check out the information about that there too.
Yeah. Even in lockdown, there's still ways to give. So we've got a lot of our giving that comes in electronically.
Yeah.
If you are one of those people who likes to give cash, we've got a drop safe in our foyer. And so just hold on to your cash until we get back in the building, and then you can drop it in there.
Yep.
Now, Em, obviously we've got our digital service that's happening right now, and even outside of lockdown, we have a digital service that continues.
I've tuned into that when I've had a cold and then just stayed home.
Yeah. Well, there's another type of gathering which Kirk Mackenzie is leading and trying to gather momentum for, and that's called home hubs. And so we've developed what we're calling 3 ways of gathering for worship. So we've got in-person services, obviously, digital service, and home hubs. And so to help go over that a bit more and explain it a bit more, we've made this little document, this little brochure for our 3 kinds of worship gatherings. Now, this was planned to be released and put in people's hands this weekend, but obviously lockdown has meant we've got 100 of these just sitting on the table
around.
now. Yeah, but there is a website, and so you can go to stjohnsdc.org.au/3, and you can spell that out, or you can use the number. You'll get to the same place, and you can get all the info that's in this same document on our website. So it goes over our vision, basically, for our different ways of connecting and different types of services, essentially. So, yeah, that's really exciting. It's a bit of a supplementary vision to
I was going to say, I was like, So it's not replacing our existing
No,
vision.
it's not replacing
just
our
a
vision,
little
which is
extra.
to be an intergenerational community,
Yep.
which is loving like Jesus, growing in Jesus, and sharing Jesus. You can find out more about that on our website too. But this is sort of a supplemental thing that's more about the ways that we gather for worship.
Yeah.
So
Great.
we'll continue to speak about this a lot over the next coming months as we continue to move forward with our digital service and with home hubs in particular. You can check that out on our website. My computer's gone to sleep, so I've got no idea what our
So
next
there's
notice
one
is.
about the
there's
a letter
a-
from the wardens.
There's a letter from the
Yeah.
wardens as well, which again was going to be physically handed over to our church members this week. But you can look out for that in coming in the post in the next few days and weeks if we've got your postal address and if you're one of our regular
Yeah, I was
church
going to say,
members.
if you're just tuning in today and you're like, how will
Yeah.
they know?
Yeah.
Another
It's all
plug
right.
to go to the website if
Yeah,
you really
let
wanted
us know
to.
your details. Yeah.
But otherwise, it'll just be the people
Yeah,
that we already.
so this letter's just a bit of an update on our financial situation as a church. We've been saying this over the last few months that giving has been down.
Yeah.
And so it's just a bit of a call to action around that. But you can, wait with bated breath for the postie to drop that off to you in the next few weeks. Always exciting to get mail. A lot of it's just from Amazon for me now. So
Yeah,
getting an actual letter would be nice.
Jenna and I just get a lot of green bags. I don't know what that's about. I don't
Is that
know.
a drug thing?
I don't know. There's just always all these green bags. and I
Green
think it's
bags.
to.
Right
and then
on.
I'm like, why do we always. And then there's so many. And anyway, let's go to Kirk, who's going to talk about something
Kirk's
else.
got another notice. Hey, Kirk. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I want to talk about today is a survey that we're putting out around our 5 p.m. service. So you're watching at 5 p.m. Congratulations. What happened, right, is our evening service used to be at 6 o'clock if we go back.
Yeah, and
a
then
long
before
time
that,
ago.
it used to be at 7.
Yeah.
So it's changed a few
So
times.
it has changed over the years. We changed to 5 early this year. That feels like a long time ago. This
Yeah.
year feels long in some ways. Because of circumstances, to do with coming out of such a long period of lockdown, to do with the timing of other services and capacity limits we're talking about the in-person time slot
Yep.
here. And so that was really a great decision at the time. And it worked very well at that point. The circumstances now are nothing like then.
No.
Although this week it's pretty similar.
There's some similarities, but there's also differences. A lot has happened since then. And so what we're doing is we're just going to survey people again. Well, not again. Well, we have surveyed a long time ago. We're just going to put out a survey about the time slot of the evening service. We felt
Yeah.
like it was a good time to do it and just gather some information. Not just about your favourite or your preferred time,
Yeah.
but about times that might work and also the factors that go into what makes up a time that works well for people. And we'd love you to fill it in if you're a regular attender of the evening service or if you expect to be a regular attender of the evening service in the near future, so next 6 to 12 months. So a good example of this might be someone who's maybe going into year 7 next year, maybe hasn't been part of the evening service previously, but hopes to be next year.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you too. So you can go to the info hub and fill it in. I'm also going to hit enter in the YouTube chat. You could fill it in right now if you'd like. It would only take a couple of minutes. We'd love for each member of the family to fill it in, not just one per family, or at least people who are 12 years and older anyway.
Yeah.
And we'll just gather that information over the next couple of weeks. It's not a vote, like most popular time slot wins, but it's just to help us to make a decision on what time slot our evening in-person service is going to take over the, in the sort of short to medium term. We would love you to think not just of yourself, but also of people you might invite to come to that service with you, to visit that service, and think of them and consider their needs and their circumstances as well as your own. That would be really awesome if people could do that. Check it out, and we'd love you to fill it in. If you can do it today, that would be awesome, but we will leave it open for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. There's a couple of little supplementary questions in there, which are a bit of fun too. Just checking in about some pop culture stuff. What social networks are you on? What media are you consuming?
Yeah.
Just helping us inform.
And if people are wondering
Inform
why
the
we
service.
did that, well, we thought, well, we're surveying people who come to the evening service. Why not gather a little bit of extra information? And those questions are optional. But just so that we can learn a bit more about people who are part of our evening service so that we can then, again, help that service become more relevant and connect better with the
Yeah.
people who are coming.
If
So-
we find out that 100% of our attendees are on TikTok, then we'll start producing TikTok
Will
videos.
you?
If
But
100%
no,
of the people who complete the
No,
survey,
we're not promising anything. We promised nothing
know.
with this survey, but it would, of course. Yeah, you're signing yourself up for a lot of
yeah,
it.
no, I'll
Work
delegate
there.
to Belle.
So there's no promises, but of course it will all be very helpful information.
But I do guarantee Belle's going to make 2 memes on TikTok in the next 6 months.
All right,
lock it in.
And don't forget,
Chase her up if she doesn't.
what are we doing at the end of the service, Em?
We are doing Q&A, which I'm really looking forward to. I feel like we haven't done one in a while. And someone even asked me recently, like, they're like, oh, are you doing another Q&A soon? And I was like, ooh, I don't know, I haven't heard about one.
It's been a while.
So, yeah.
and
no,
the
I'm
number's
looking
on
forward to
screen.
it.
You can, if you point up, Em, you'll be pointing right at the number. Yeah, look at that.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Movie
last
magic.
thing I wanted to point out is we're going to go to our Bible reading and talk now.
Yeah.
And then prayers. And all of those were recorded about 3 hours before we realised that lockdown was
Yeah.
coming, or potentially coming. So there's no reference to lockdown
Yeah.
in those. It was literally like we recorded in the morning and then
Yeah.
the lockdown situation involved in the afternoon.
So
So
I feel like, why is that not?
these guys are totally disconnected from real life. That's
wow,
like-
they're
Yeah.
just
That's-
pretending like it
yeah.
never happened.
that's
Yeah.
just what happened. So
yeah.
please bear that in mind as we go through.
Yeah. Quick plug. I'm just going to jump in as well. Quick plug for 2 things. One is to sign up to our email list and stay with us on socials as well. Just especially at the moment with everything changing and not being really sure if we're meeting week to week or whatever's going on. Our email list in particular is a great place to get updates on that. And the other thing I just wanted to plug is the Breakaway auction. Again, stay tuned on our social media pages for that. This is one of our mission partners, their big fundraising thing. It was scheduled for this week. So it'll still happen. It'll just probably be online, but stay tuned on socials and email for details on that. And again, Info Hub is the best place to go to find out all of the info about all of the things. But I think that's it. Anyone else going to jump in? It feels like we've been doing a lot of jumping in.
Well,
Em.
yeah. No, I was just going to say, Kat was like, the green bags are for clothes donations. And I was like,
Sure.
I know, but I just I forgot what it was called.
Okay.
Anyway.
Great. All right. Let's wrap
Let's
this up.
do more relevant
We've got
stuff.
Ken reading the Bible for us now. Thanks, Ken.
Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 to 12. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Well, isn't it nice to be doing teaching from the couch instead of the hassle of standing up? So much more comfy doing it sitting down with my blankie. In fact, it could be a little bit more comfy. Belle, could you just pass me those cushions, please?
Oh, here you go.
Oh, thank you. I just love feeling comfortable, and these comfy cushions are really going to help with that. Actually, do you know, does this couch have seat warmers, like there's electric seat warmer feature?
No, sorry, not here. I have to get a nice car to do that.
That's a shame. Oh well, I know some of the top line couches do have that. Anyway, I do love a comfy couch. I also love like recliners. You know, those ones where you can, go back or you can put the seat up, although I do find the handle a bit of a hassle. You know, arm going back, arm going forward, such a sore arm. I do prefer the electric recliners where you just use a little button, much more convenient. Anyway, it's good to be comfy for today's teaching. Our series that we're in at the moment is called Our Deepest Desires. Each week, what we're doing is we're taking a desire that each of us will have at various points in our life, and we're looking at how, if it becomes a really big part of our life, as in it really takes over our decision making, it takes up a lot of our focus and a lot of our energy, how that desire can become a problem. So we've already looked at our deep desire for power and our deep desire for approval. And when those things become big controlling desires, they really do mess up our life. But of course, each week we're not just looking at the mess these desires can make, we're also looking at who God is and how when we enter a relationship with Him, He offers us a great alternative, a better alternative to what those desires bring to our lives. Now this week, we're looking at our deep desire for comfort. Now advertisers have picked up on the fact that we all will have this desire at various times in our life. And so what they do is they present to us this vision for life that says that you can be very, very comfortable. And they can sell you products and services, like say a comfy couch, that is going to make your life very comfortable and basically free from hassle, free from stress, free from debt. They're going to make your life so easy and so convenient that you are going to be happy and relaxed and problem-free all the time. And because you're a smart person, you know that that is an absolute load of rubbish. So even though it is a load of rubbish, it's an enticing load of rubbish. We do look at this vision the advertisers present us and go, oh, I would love to live that sort of life. But as much as this false vision is presented to us by the advertisers, we do get a much healthier idea of comfort presented to us by our culture in other ways. So if you were to type into YouTube search right now, comfort zone, you would get a whole bunch of videos telling you why it's really good for you to leave your comfort zone. To get uncomfortable is a good thing because that's the way we grow. And these videos will tell you that you're not going to achieve success, you're not going to achieve happiness, you're not going to achieve growth unless you, at times in your life, find yourself in uncomfortable situations. The Olympics is actually a really good example of this. Now, if you're watching this live, this will be the last day of the Olympics. And all those Olympians who have achieved excellence in their various sports have, of course, gone through a lot of uncomfortable training in order to achieve the success that they've achieved. It's a success to obviously even make the Olympics, let alone win something there. They would absolutely subscribe to the idea of no pain, no gain. Because the reality is, if you want to grow in any area of life, then you have to be uncomfortable at times in order to do that. It's not just in the area of fitness, it's all areas of life. Let me give you an example. Say you think that you get the sense that you're a socially awkward person. So you're not particularly confident in social situations. You find things like group conversations difficult. How are you going to grow in that part of your life? Well, you're definitely not going to grow by staying home by yourself all the time. That's not going to be effective. What you're going to need to do is to put yourself in social situations so that you can learn. Now, it's going to sometimes be difficult, it's going to be uncomfortable, maybe you're going to stuff a few things up, have a few embarrassing moments, but if you can keep putting yourself into those situations that you find uncomfortable and learn from them, then you're going to grow and eventually become more confident in social situations. But if we have a deep desire for comfort, and if all we want to do is protect our comfort, and if we think that any discomfort, any stressful situation, any painful situations are all bad, then we're not going to grow. And what we're also going to do is start to overreact to uncomfortable situations. We're going to overreact to discomfort if we have a deep desire for comfort. For example, I've had several conversations over the years with people who have told me that their boss at work was a bully. And so when I've asked them about what the boss does to make them a bully, to me, at least in my opinion, they haven't really sounded like a bully. It sounds like the boss has really just been keeping people accountable to the workplace standards. You know, just things like making sure people turn up on time, only use their phones during the break, speak to the customers before you socialise with your colleagues, these sort of things. And yeah, maybe the boss was a bit strict about those things, but in my opinion, the boss wasn't in the category of bully. But this sort of thing can happen if you have a deep desire for conflict and then you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, like your boss correcting you or critiquing you at work, then you might have an overreaction. Instead of going, oh, okay, this is some negative feedback, but it's an opportunity for me to grow, you might overreact and go, I'm being bullied in the workplace. So what can happen when we have this deep desire for comfort and it gets out of hand is that we start to miss out on opportunities to grow and we miss out on the good things in life. We think we're getting the good things in life because we're protecting our comfort, but we're missing out on the best things. And the very best thing about life from our Christian point of view is relationships. Our relationship with God and our relationship with people, the best, most important part of life. And when we protect our comfort, we will almost always end up with shallow relationships. Think about it. If you're protecting your comfort, you're going to avoid things like responsibility and you're going to avoid things like commitment because those things bring with them risk, difficulty, potential for conflict. They're not things that you're going to take on if you want to stay comfortable. And yet it's those things that help us to go deeper in relationships. And it's those things that help people to feel valued. If we protect our comfort, other people are going to feel neglected. They're going to feel like we don't really care about them. And so sometimes what's going to happen is our friends will feel that we are emotionally unavailable to them. And sometimes what's going to happen is when we deeply desire comfort, is that we might quit on things that otherwise we could have persisted with and got great value from. Maybe we'll quit on some study that we're doing, or quit a job that we could have persisted with, or quit on a relationship, or even a marriage. Now, I think it's worth saying that at this point, that some uncomfortable situations are worth quitting on or are worth getting out of because they do go into an abusive situation. So some bosses are bullies and their behavior needs to be called out and they need to be held to account. Some stressful situations go on for too long and are actually bad for our health and we need to remove ourselves from those situations. Some relationships are toxic and abusive and we need to end those relationships. So please hear me clearly that not every single uncomfortable circumstance we find ourselves in is always a great opportunity to grow. Sometimes they're just a bad situation that we need to get out of. But can we just have that maturity to realize that both can be true? That some situations are abusive and bad and we should remove ourselves from them. But a lot of situations that are uncomfortable are an excellent opportunity for us to grow. So, our culture presents to us this unhelpful idea that life can just sort of be pain and problem free and we can just be comfortable all the time. But also we get this really sort of quite helpful idea of growing in uncomfortable situations. Now, the Bible has been saying this for thousands of years. And Jesus himself has been banging on about this too. For example, in Luke chapter 9, verse 23, Jesus says this: "Whoever wants to be my disciple," so a follower of me, "must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." Now, this is metaphorically speaking. So he's saying metaphorically, you need to pick up a symbol of suffering and death and carry it around with you. Doesn't sound like a very comfortable thing to be doing. Sounds like the exact opposite. But that's the life that Jesus calls his followers to. It's not always going to be easy. And if you look at Jesus' life and Jesus' teaching, you'll see that it's not always going to be comfortable, that's the human life and that's the path of following Jesus. It's not going to be smooth sailing the whole time. And especially if you want to grow as a Christian, if you want to grow in your relationship with God, it is definitely going to require leaving your comfort zone. But as we look at today's passage from Matthew chapter 5, we'll see that the Beatitudes, which is the name given to this particular section in Matthew chapter 5, that goes even further. It doesn't just say, well, this is Jesus doing the teaching here. He doesn't just say, hey, life's got some ups and downs and you need to be prepared for the difficult parts. He actually goes further than that and says, God blesses people in those uncomfortable circumstances. Now, earlier in the year, I did a talk where we talked about the word blessed a fair bit. And we talked about how it's a word that we use in church, but people often use the word blessed outside of church context as well. And that if you ask 10 different people, you might get 10 different definitions of what the word blessed means. So, what does Jesus mean when he uses the word blessed here in Matthew chapter 5? Well, sometimes translators, when they're translating the original language into English, will actually translate it as happy. So that gives you a bit of a sense of where he's going there. But it's not a sense of like just feeling happy. Oh, I feel happy today. It's more of a state of being. And a person who has this state of being happy, it's because they have received the favor of God. It's not just because they're happy for whatever reason. It's definitely because they have received God's favor. So hopefully that's helpful for you. And as we look at some of the verses now in detail, have that in mind. A state of happiness because you've received the favor of God. And that's not perfect. There's lots of word study on this and so on, but that's probably a good summary. Okay, let's have a look at some of what Jesus says here as people are blessed. Verse 3, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." So when we think about human kingdoms, usually we think about the rich and the powerful being on top of the pile there. But that's not the case in God's kingdom. It's actually the poor who are going to be in control of the kingdom here, or at the top of the pile in the kingdom. And in particular, the poor in spirit. And so you go, when you think of someone who's poor in spirit, you probably don't think of someone who's got a pep in their step. Someone who's on top of the world today, who's having a great time of it. You're probably going to be thinking of someone who's going through a tough time, who's got troubles in their life. Now have a look at verse 4. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." Now here's the word comfort being used by Jesus in quite a different way to the way I've presented it in the talk so far, and in the way we often think about it. It doesn't really have much to do with comfy lounge suites and nice holidays and lifestyles. And we're going to pick up on that image again soon. But also, the people who are being comforted here are those who are blessed, are those who mourn, people who are grieving, who are experiencing loss, or perhaps regret for something that they have done or been a part of in the past. And then in verse 5, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. So the people who are going to be in charge of the earth, we would often think they're going to be the leaders, the sort of strong alpha types. But in God's plans, it's not. It's the meek, the people who go unnoticed, the quiet, unassuming types. They're the ones who are going to be in charge under God's rule. So what's going on here? Just in these first 3 blessings, what Jesus is doing is flipping the way things usually work in our world. Things are upside down. Dallas Willard, who's done a lot of teaching on this particular section of the book of Matthew, and I'd highly recommend looking him up on YouTube and looking up some of his books, some great stuff. He says this, I'm paraphrasing him, but God blesses people that the world believes are missing out. God blesses people who the world believes are missing out. And we see this as we work through the other verses to a greater or lesser extent. From verse 6 through to verse 9, we might feel a little bit more positive about those, particularly if you're looking at it from a Christian or a Jewish religious point of view. But you would still say those people are not at the top of the pile when it comes to society, particularly in a society like Jesus where the Roman Empire was ruling. And then when we come to the end of the list, verses 10 and 11, you're definitely not thinking that these people are having a great time. Let's have a look. Verse 10, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So persecuted means you're being bullied and attacked. And then verse 11, he speaks directly to his disciples who are with him at the time. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. So it's a blessing to have all that horrible stuff happen to you and to be in those very uncomfortable circumstances. Again, Jesus tipping things upside down compared to what we would normally be thinking in day-to-day life. This is how God works. And Jesus was always teaching this way, and this is how he lived as well. He always went first to those who were uncomfortable, living in the most difficult circumstances. And this is actually how I've seen God work in my time as a Christian. Whenever I've heard people talk about how Jesus has worked in their life, whenever I've heard people tell the story of how they've become a Christian, then it's nearly always in the hard times. They tell how Jesus has worked in their life during those most difficult times. And it also makes sense of why Jesus came to earth in the first place. You see, we don't worship a God who's like some distant landlord who just, never really spends any time with us and then just checks in every now and then to make sure we're worshipping him properly and then leaves again. That's not how God works. He came to earth as one of us. He has lived life as a human being, gone through the ups and downs of life that we all go through, so that when we do go through those difficult times in life, when we experience trouble, when we are mourning, when we are grieving, when we feel like we are going unnoticed, when we do feel like we're acting the peacemaker in a difficult conflict situation, he's been there. He gets it. He has had a similar experience as us. So we need to lose the idea that God only blesses us by smoothing the road out for us and getting rid of all the problems and just making life super comfortable. In that sense of things, that's not how he's ever worked. He never promised to do things that way. In fact, it's got a totally different way of comforting us, and that is to be with us during the difficulties. So let's ditch the idea of comfort that I sort of presented at the start and the advertisers present to us, of convenience and easiness and relaxing and that sort of thing. And let's try and use some different images. And I want to present 2 to you today. They're not perfect images, but they're much more in the direction that I think would be helpful. The first image is picture for yourself a small child who's hurt themselves and they're crying and they're looking around for their parent, and then they find them and they jump into their parent's arms and their parent holds them tight and speaks quietly to them loving words. And as they hold them tight and calm them, that child experiences the comfort of their loving parent. Or how about this? An adult experiencing some sort of tragedy, maybe some shock news of loss, and then they experience the embrace of another adult. Someone, maybe they're not even talking to them, but just by their physical presence, letting them know that they're not alone, that we're here with you, that we're going to journey with you through this tough time, and we're going to be a comfort to you during this time of loss and difficulty. This is the sort of comfort that we receive from God. This is good comfort that we should desire as we experience the ups and downs of life. And it's a much more helpful image because it's not a comfort that we build for ourselves and then protect. It's a comfort that we receive from somewhere else and that ultimately we receive from our loving Father. There's one more thing I want to say about this comfort that we receive from God, and that is that it's both present and future. You might have noticed this in the language of what Jesus says. In verse 3 and in verse 10, the blessings here are present. So for example, in verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And again, he uses the language in verse 10, theirs is. There's a sense that the blessing is right now. But then in verses 4 to 9, there's a sense that the blessing is coming. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And it goes on, they will. There's a sense that it hasn't arrived yet. Now, when Jesus gave this teaching, he hadn't died on the cross yet, his sacrificial death. He hadn't risen from the dead. He hadn't sent the Spirit into the world. And God's plan, which is throughout all human history, was still underway, and it still is. Because his plan is to completely restore everything and to remove all the problems, all suffering, and all broken relationships. And so, as much as a lot of the plan has been done and we can receive God's blessing now, it is a present reality. There's also a future reality that it's going to be better, and ultimately there will be, I guess, a greater comfort to come. So we sometimes talk about God's kingdom being now and not yet, in the sense that we're still waiting for it to fully arrive, but it has started to arrive. And there's a bit of mystery to this in the Christian faith, in the sense that we have a hope for it, we have a down payment for it, there is evidence for it, but we don't know exactly when it's going to fully arrive and exactly what it will look like. But that plan is still unfolding. So there's present blessing, but there's also future blessing to look forward to. And certainly here in the start of Matthew chapter 5, we get a sense of that in what Jesus is saying. So, today, if you are currently experiencing uncomfortable circumstances in life, perhaps you are in a position where you're mourning, there is conflict that you'd love to bring peace to, if you're resonating with some of what Jesus has been saying in the passage, I encourage you to look to Jesus for comfort in these circumstances right now. He is with you and he gets it. I want to especially encourage you, if you're not yet a follower of Jesus, this could be the time for you to look to Jesus and to begin that relationship with him. It's as simple as asking for some help. Saying, Jesus, a prayer as simple as, Jesus, I'm in a bit of a spot here. Could you please help me? And remember, we're doing that not in the sense of like, can you please get me to where the advertisers promised life could be? Because that's a load of rubbish. But could you please be with me and comfort me in that real important way that I need right now. And for those of you who already follow Jesus, obviously we want to be absorbing this and inviting Jesus to comfort us in those times of need. But also, this is such good news. We need to share it. We need to share it with our words and our actions, both. And I know that God has been challenging some of you to share your faith more. And maybe you're going, okay, I'm up for the challenge. Where do I start? Who do I, I'm going to have to step out of my comfort zone to do this. Who do I do that with first? Well, I think we get a great lead here from Jesus, as we always do. And that is, why not go to those that the world would consider to be missing out? Look around to the people in your life and see who's doing it difficult, who is mourning, who gets overlooked by others in our society, who's in need of some peace in their life. Go to them, offer them some good news, offer them some real comfort.
Our God is a God of great comfort. His presence is always with us, no matter the circumstances, and he deserves our worship, no matter how our feelings are going. So let's sing Desert Song together and claim this truth, that he is present with us in all circumstances, that he fills us knowing all our needs, and he gives us what we need so that we can minister to others. So let's sing Desert Song. This is my prayer in the desert, when all that's within me feels dry. This is my prayer in my hunger and need. My God is the God who provides. This is my prayer in the fire, in weakness or trial or pain. There is a faith proved of more worth than gold, so refine me, Lord, through the flame. I will bring praise, I will bring praise. No weapon formed against me shall remain. I will rejoice, I will declare, God is my victory and He is here. This is my prayer in the battle, when triumph is still on its way. I am a conqueror and co-heir with Christ, so firm on His promise I stand. I will bring praise, I will bring praise. No weapon formed against me shall remain. I will rejoice, I will declare, God is my victory and He is here. All of my life, in every season, you are still God. I have a reason to sing, I have a reason to worship. All of my life, in every season, you are still God. I have a reason to sing, I have a reason to worship. All of my life, in every season, you are still God. I have a reason to sing, I have a This is my prayer in the harvest, when favor and providence flow. I know I'm filled to be emptied again. The seed I've received I will sow.
Hi, my name's Lenny and this is Beatrix. I'm one of the volunteers here at St. John's and today I'm going to pray for us. Dear God, thank you for your consistency and ever-present love. Thank you for the shelter that we find in you. We praise you for your grace, mercy, and love. We are here before you, seeking your peace and understanding as we struggle to make sense of the world around us. During this series on deep desires, may your Spirit stir in us to reveal our need to repent and run to you. We continue to pray for the Victorian government as the vaccine rollout continues and the easing of restrictions is implemented. May you help us to make wise choices as we ease into COVID normal life. We pray for our mission partners and the call they have placed on you have placed on their hearts to spread your message of love. How they seek out the marginalised and bring them into community with your great church. Spirit, may you continue to fill them as they pour out onto others in a time where our global community looks so different. We pray for our St. John's leaders and elders, using your wisdom to make decisions. Guide them with their choices surrounding events and looking into the future. We pray for those in our lives we know who need your love. May we as a church be a welcoming place, overflowing with compassion and care. May all find peace here. We pray for strength for a new week and more of your wisdom in our lives. We give this prayer to you as well as the prayers that sit on the heart of each one of us. Now together, let's say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
Well, thank you, Lenny and Beatrix, for those prayers. It's always so good to see Beatrix on camera. I know I see her literally every day, but I haven't seen her for like a few hours now, so it's like, she's so cute.
That's Barris's family. If you're like, why is he obsessed with these people?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you be obsessed with them? Did you see them? Welcome back, Kirk. We are primed and ready for our Q&A.
Had some cool questions
Yeah,
come in.
getting some questions come in. Don't forget you can text them. Don't use the one I popped in the chat a few minutes ago, but use the most recent one or the one handily on the screen right here. 0490
It's not above you,
453
Kirk.
293. It is.
Oh, no, it is. All right. It's
You're
just
looking
on
at the
other
wrong
one.
thing. Yeah, it's
Never
right there.
mind,
It's
I
right
was
on Kirk's
wrong.
head. Use that number. Send us your questions. It can be about Kirk's talk. It can be about anything we've had in previous weeks of our Deepest Desires series. Maybe you want to do a throwback to like one from like our previous series
From Galatians.
on Galatians. I've fully blanked on what series it was.
Our life group's still doing it at the moment.
Yeah,
'cause We're
nice.
a few weeks behind.
Yeah.
So I'm not like some sort of pro there. But
No, you
there
are.
we go.
Take it. Own it.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe you've got a question about how we're moving forward with restrictions. Maybe you've got a question about the 3 Ways to Gather document that we put out that you've all gone and looked at instead of listening to Kirk's talk. Or maybe you've got just other random life and faith questions. Send them in. We'll maybe give them a crack.
You said that, and then I was like, oh, cool. I've been keeping a running thing of all the random questions from our life group that we... Anyway.
Yeah.
So, who knows? They might...
Yeah.
Something
Bring him
seems a
in,
bit weird.
Em's life group. Let's
Yeah,
go.
let's do
Before
that.
we do that, let's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
land the service.
Okay,
and
yeah,
sort
we're
of
sorry.
gonna-
I'm getting
we're
way
getting
too far
way
ahead.
too ahead.
finish, and then
Just getting excited.
into
you know?
post-service
Yeah.
Q&A.
Okay. So Em's going to finish our service.
I am.
now.
I'm
Yeah.
going to say the prayer. It's on the screen. Well, it will be in a sec. There we go. Cool. I'm going to say white. You can say yellow, or you can just say it in your brain. Whatever. So go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
In the name of Christ.
Amen.
Good times.
Em, you've got the questions.
I do.
You got the
No,
phone.
I got too
you've
excited
got the
'cause I was-
phone.
I was
Put
gonna,
your
like-
phone away.
Well, no, I was
We're
gonna
going
get
to
the
other people's questions
out
first.
Okay. All right. Well, they're on standby if we need some hard-hitting questions. All right. The first one says, seeking comfort in our lives can look like renting a nicer house or buying a better car. What's the best way to balance those worldly desires with a heavenly perspective? Ooh.
Yes, absolutely. This is interesting because
Is it wrong to want nice things?
I would, yeah, well, always with these, you can kind of give a basic answer and then you want to nuance it after. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Oh, look, we've got
That's so
words
much
on the
text.
screen.
Yeah, there's a lot of words on the screen. I'm realizing I've set this up thinking that we'd have someone operating a camera right now. Hey, there we go. Hey, there's me. Hello. So we might
Maybe
just,
What a
maybe we won't put the text on the
but
screen.
we just won't put it up there.
Yeah.
I miscounted
I know,
because we're
Belle
only allowed
did that
5
like a
people. I just
massive
fully
champ.
miscounted. Yeah, whatever.
so let's
I'll leave that
try
up
and-
to the tech team. You
Let's
can work
try
that out.
and we'll give you sort of give a quick answer and then you go like, let's nuance it and get into detail. So, is it wrong to like or want new things? No, but depends on you might go. But it's probably wrong to want them too much. You know,
How would
and
you know?
to have that sort of thing. And how would you know? I think is that's how we mature as people and as followers of Jesus, is to get that really good understanding of when we're desiring something way too much. Now, interestingly, in the last 12 months, we have had to buy a new car because our previous one was sort of on the fritz.
Jet and I have had to do that too. Not new, but like new to us.
And we're currently in the process of having to move out.
Yeah.
So both of these, the
Jet and I have
things
literally
suggested.
done this too. This has been our same
Oh, right.
year, but
Okay,
we're
yeah.
like 6 months ahead of you.
And so you experience both those things where, okay, well, we're presented with the need, we need to get new things out of circumstance, but then you go and look at the new things and you go, ooh, whoa, look at that. Look at that new
This one
car.
has a
Like,
reversing camera. Ooh. Heated
and-
seats.
and so
back to the
there's those
chat.
things. And then you can start convincing yourself that you need the flashy, upgraded version. When you don't know, like need is a word we throw around a lot.
Yeah.
So here's one way I reckon. Here's an example of how you can mature, is the way you use the word need.
Yeah.
I think we can often use the word need when what we really mean is want. Need, like you need like fresh water and food, and you need shelter. Like these are the basic human needs. We need some loving relationships in life.
Yeah.
Those are the basic things that we really need. We don't need a really nice car.
Yeah.
We don't need an extra bedroom in our house. It might be useful. It might be practical. It's probably not wrong to have an extra bedroom in your house. You don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need a backyard. Again, it might be a good thing. I'm not saying it's wrong to have a backyard. You don't need one. So I think that for me has been a good way to grow in my understanding of comfort, is to change the way I use that word and the way I think about needs and wants. That's probably a good example.
Yeah. I mean, it says, how would you balance those perspectives, and evaluating whether something is a need or a want seems to do that. Did you have anything to add to that, Barris?
No, I think you summed it up really well. I think, swapping out that need and want thing, that's really the heart of it. Like, it does come, like the question's talking about balance. And so it's like, it's not saying, and I don't think we're saying that, if Kirk's buying a new car or if Em's buying a new car, everyone's buying a new car except Andy, apparently. I'm not bitter. I don't want a new car. Like, you could just go to a used car yard and buy a car for like less than $1,000. You could do that.
Yep.
That would be satisfying your need for a vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that car would probably be unsafe in
Not
terms of
reliable.
it might not be reliable.
Yeah.
It might not be a wise decision to buy that car.
Yeah.
might be a decision,
Yep.
and it might be one that means that the remaining $19,000 or whatever that you spend on a car, you could repurpose that for something that's more kingdom focused. You could give that to a church or a needy organization or whatever. But yeah, there needs to be a point where you have those wise things coming into it as well. You know,
Yeah.
side rail airbags, a car that's not going to break down in 6 months.
Better fuel
Yeah,
efficiency,
better fuel
helpful for
efficiency,
the
that sort of
environment,
thing.
all that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to a guy just a couple of weeks ago who goes to a church, I would say, at a similar demographic to ours, in that sort of middle class area. But he works for a food bank, you know, delivering food
Yep.
to families in most need, like proper
Yeah.
real need in that sense of the word. And he said during lockdown, particularly extended one last year, people just at his church, he said, yeah, like through no fault of their own, they just didn't get how lockdown affected the people that he was delivering to. They just didn't get it. And that the real cost of lockdown to people who are living on the edge. So I think perspective is another thing that's really helpful, and it's another way to grow in maturity, is to and I'm really speaking to people who are perhaps in that middle, if you're in that middle class section where you don't have a lot of those basic needs, your basic needs are met day by day, is to realize how good your life is and to seek to be really content with that, and to really understand, actually, I'm pretty comfortable already. Anything on top of this is bonus.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
luxury compared to most people,
Yeah.
even in our own country, let alone, you know, in other parts of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So again, perspective is always helpful with maturity. Now, I'm not a fan of like, well, it's just people starving over the other world,
Yeah.
so you shouldn't have anything nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
the people that are like, oh, there are people starving in Africa, and you're like, well, this doesn't relate to me right now who can't finish my chips.
Yeah, that doesn't mean you shouldn't
Yeah,
get a
yeah.
donut or you shouldn't, buy a nice pair of shoes.
Yeah.
But perspective on what other people's life is like is really good.
Yeah.
And it's a very loving, mature thing to have. So you want to hold that in balance of like not feeling guilty about it all the time, but also really just being aware of how other people live. It's so good. And again, mainly speaking to you, again, if you're watching, if you are in that category of life where things are going pretty well for you, if you're doing it harder, then maybe that's a less relevant thing for you because you know it, you've experienced it.
Yeah. No, totally. They all sort of tie into one another, but where do you think we have become too comfortable? Maybe just, I think there's a few different ways that you could take that, like in our society or as Christians, because, Jesus has called us to be set apart in certain ways. Where do you think we've become perhaps too comfortable?
Can you just speak a bit louder?
Sorry.
I'm
Let me
looking at the volume levels and
Where do you think? Where do you think that we as Christians or as a Western culture have become too comfortable? Or maybe let's rephrase it a little bit better. As Christians who live in a Western culture, perhaps have become too comfortable.
I reckon, I don't know, the first thing I went to is our use of the word persecution, where, granted, I haven't seen churches or people I know talking like this, but with lockdowns and not being able to gather and mask wearing, and Sydney even had restrictions on singing at all, wouldn't even allow a person in a recorded session to be singing unmasked, where they were saying, oh, we're being persecuted as the church. That's too comfortable. That is not persecution. Yeah. So I feel like we were talking about this in staff meeting, actually, where churches all around the world have it far worse than we have right now. Like, there are churches meeting in China or India or wherever, and they're fearful for their lives when they meet, right? We don't have that. We're not scared about the government busting down a door and saying you can't meet because you're Christians. Where am I going with this? But I think
Yeah.
we're getting too comfortable in what we think, where we draw the line at what's the church being persecuted. And what we're saying in staff meeting was our thing to deal with is not people with guns coming in and threatening us, but it's bureaucracy. There's so many layers of laws and things we have to abide by, and codes of conduct and all these things. And they're good things. They're just frustrating. But we get comfortable and think, oh, we've got it so hard because I have to get a working with children's check.
Yeah. And so we take that over potentially getting gunned down during our gatherings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that's that perspective thing that helps you. I do wonder too that, and I picked this up a bit in the talk. I do think that sense of just feeling uncomfortable is a thing, like I just don't want to feel uncomfortable. I don't. So, conflict I think is one thing, like where I just want to avoid conflict so much that any sense that I'm getting attacked, and I'm just going to run away. And I think that really does rob us of potentially great opportunities to go deeper in relationships. In any sort of relationship, friendships, family, work, that sort of thing. If we can actually lean into some conflict and seek reconciliation, it's very uncomfortable to do it. I totally understand not doing it. Just speaking up for. Speaking up in situations which are clearly not going smoothly. I think that's one area where we get comfortable and we just go, I'll just let it slide.
Yep.
But then I've seen this happen over and over again where things linger and fester and then they turn terrible later on. So they got those long-term consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be one area. But I do think this desire for things just to go smoothly and for things to be okay, I think all the time, I don't know what you find, Em, but like being a teacher, but I think kids are going to treat each other badly at school. And I've seen a few parents just go, no, we're pulling our kid out of this school and then moving them on, and pulling our kid out of this school and moving them on. And you hear the reasons why. It's like, gee, it's not that bad. Like it was really as kids being kids. Can't you help them work through those issues? And again, please hear me clearly. There can be some really bad situations that are worth moving on from. But persisting through some challenges, I think, is worthwhile, particularly from a gospel point of view where look what Jesus puts up with from us, on a daily basis. Like his infinite patience with us extending that to others. I don't think we're great at that in Australia, and particularly in a Melbourne context. I think we're pretty quick to pull the plug on people and go, no, we're moving on, we're getting out of there, instead of leaning into the opportunity to seek a better option and a way through. So I'm kind of maybe a little bit repeating what I said in the talk, but giving a couple of other examples.
Well, I mean, it's pretty topical. We're talking about stuff related to it. So it'd be weird if you were like, I know in the talk I said this, but now I'm saying this.
Yeah. This idea of a safe place I've heard that a fair bit.
Yep.
And that's a wonderful idea. That we need a safe place to talk about issues and problems and feelings and stuff. Awesome. As long as that safe place is an opportunity where is a place where people can disagree with each other.
Yeah.
And it has to be that. Otherwise, it's not really safe.
And then it's like well,
it's
who
false.
are you excluding from that space? And that sort of thing as well.
Yeah. So that's just a nuance of real life, isn't it? If a place is going to be really safe, it's actually a place where we can disagree with each other without fear that we're going to attack each other, take each other down, assault each other, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's like resilience and managing conflict, and it's super uncomfortable. let me jump to. Barris, did you have anything to add to that or any other
No, you got
additional
it.
thoughts?
Yeah.
Smashed
Yeah.
it. Okay, so should I be seeking discomfort as a Christian or just not surprised by it when it happens? Like, should I be intentionally putting myself in situations that I'm uncomfortable, like for the sake of growing or whatever, or just being like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
and not getting all bitter about it when it happens?
I love this question. It's a really good one.
It was
all the
my
quest- all the
question.
questions are
So,
really good. Oh, is it?
yeah,
On second thoughts,
it's
actually,
sucky.
now that I'm thinking about it a bit more, it's a little bit shallow. No, all the questions have been really good. This one's good because, I think everyone's wondering it.
Yeah.
I think everyone's probably thought it throughout the service. You should have definitely expect it to happen. I would say you should put yourself in uncomfortable situations, but not just like randomly. Not just like, I'll just like shove myself into uncomfortable situations for no reason. Like, that guy looks tough on me, and I'm just going to go and pick on him. No, you want to do it for gospel-centered reasons. So that's sharing your faith, loving people radically, being generous, those sort of reasons.
Yeah.
That's why you should feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't feel uncomfortable because you're randomly picking fights or just doing dumb stuff. So, that may mean you're not, sometimes you're having pretty comfortable weeks. But when that opportunity comes for you to put your faith on the line, then you want to be ready to be uncomfortable and be looking for those. And I think often, and it's coming back to that first question, often we just don't take that opportunity to share our faith. We don't take that opportunity to drop Jesus into the conversation.
Yeah.
Drop
We
the
don't-
J-bomb.
Drop the J-bomb.
And so we miss out on that opportunity because that might make things a bit uncomfortable, so we don't do it.
Yeah.
That's where you want to do it. That's where you want to drop it in.
So the second point for that was, should we just not be surprised by discomfort when we find ourselves in that situation?
Oh, well, I mean, that's life, isn't it? You're going to have uncomfortable situations. Don't be
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah. Even if you're not a Christian, you should be expecting to be uncomfortable in certain
Yeah.
Yeah.
times of your life and stuff. Like, we even the secular world has, well, especially the secular world in some ways, has that deep desire for comfort, as Kirk has been talking at length about. But we, even those who don't have a faith, like, you might desire it, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And you'd be kidding yourself if you think that you are, and you need to be ready to roll with that. Yeah. And so I think as a Christian, even more so, you should just be being prepared to take that step into discomfort willingly. Putting yourself in situations, as you said, dropping the J-bomb or having that awkward conversation with a friend that will make you feel uncomfortable, but the long-term outcome of that, might be to resolve a conflict that's been stirring, or it might be to seek correction with someone or whatever. So no, definitely expect it.
Barris, this one's asking just for a bit of further clarification on something that you said. So it says, could you comment further on how we consider being entitled to comfort and the removal of what we feel entitled to being labelled as persecution?
Sure. I can comment further on that.
You might need a second approach. Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what the texter is saying. Like, I think that people can have, exactly what they said. They can feel entitled to a certain comfort or way of doing something, and there can definitely be that gut reaction that when that's taken away from you, you feel like, I'm being persecuted, which I don't think is fair. I don't think that's a good use of that definition. I'm not. I don't know if I have anything to add to it other than yes, that's something that people do.
Okay.
So are you saying like losing comforts?
Yeah,
is not necessarily persecution.
correct.
So losing basic human rights is.
Definitely
Losing comforts, not necessarily.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
So, and this is under lockdowns, all right? So lockdowns remove some
Sure.
of the comforts of life.
yes.
in order that, and theoretically, we won't get too into to the
Yeah.
to the lockdown stuff, but
Yeah.
on a basic level, the idea of a lockdown is that everyone's comfort levels are restricted,
Yeah.
and those sort of enjoyable freedoms that we have are restricted to increase the health and well-being of everyone.
Yeah, because with the lockdowns, the church isn't being persecuted through a lockdown because it's not just the church that's being locked down. If Dan Andrews came out tomorrow and said everyone's out of lockdown, but no one is allowed to gather in churches, you're allowed to go to the footy.
Yeah, no, that's
you're allowed,
persecu-
that's 100% persecution.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. But for it to say across the board, there is no, there are these limits on freedoms. That's not persecution of the church. No.
Persecution of the church. Okay, yep,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
If we shouldn't be aiming for being comfortable, what should we be aiming for as Christians, I would say, not just generally as people?
Comfortable in that sense of I guess what I presented at the start of the talk, of that comfortable lifestyle that we're presented in advertising, comforted by our relationship with Jesus. That's what we should be aiming for, I think. So not comfortable, but comforted.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's a helpful difference. Comforted when we need it. Hopefully there'll be periods in our life where we won't really need it because we'll be doing all right.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a helpful way to think about it. Understanding that we will face those challenges where we will need to be comforted, and seeking that primarily in the one who loves us the most. And we will get it from other people who God has made as well. But yeah, ultimately you want to go to the source of love and the source of grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to have a go at mixing a metaphor.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, here we go.
Okay. So,
Our church loves this, by the way. We love
Mate,
taking metaphors and illustrations and just mixing them up.
yeah, just smash them together and see what happens. Okay, so your talk started with you on the couch, slothing about
With this very blanket.
with that very blanket as seen on TV. Belle coming over, fluffing your pillows, asking about
Thank you, Belle.
really, she, amazing. We were getting phone calls ringing off the hook about booking Belle for her next movie appearance. And so it was a really slothful, lazy comfort. Okay. Contrast that with what the Bible describes as the Christian life, as when Paul writes that we are running a race and we have to have endurance in our faith. And so we've got that contrast, right, of lazy comfort and endurance, marathon race, run the race. And so I think that's the difference, right? In that you can be seeking comfort where you don't move. You are stationary, you are cuddled up in your blanket, compared
or
to
in your hoodie.
or in your hoodie,
Yeah.
compared to running the race that God has set out for you, and at times needing comfort in to be comforted. But for the most part, you are pushing on, you are striving for the race that God has marked out for you. But then at times you'll be comforted by God and, as you said, by others. Let's take this another step further, where God is the water person and you run past the water and you get the water, right? So, yeah, you've got the lazy, you've got the race, but the race isn't just you're out there solo. There are options in the race to still get that comfort. But it's not the lazy, don't do anything, just sit here in my blankie and hoodie comfort.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like the laziness thing. The thing is, to protect that sort of comfort, you actually need to work quite hard.
Yeah.
So that's the irony of it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it actually takes a lot of effort and a lot of works.
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to protect it.
And
so it doesn't actually turn out to be that comfortable.
No, yeah, and as you said in your talk again, it can damage your relationships. Like as you saw in your little skit, you had to ask Belle to get you some cushions, and she had to go out of her way to try and help you maintain that comfort. And so then, yeah, it became selfishness that you're putting your desire for comfort over Belle's desire to not fluff your cushions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My observation is people who prioritise that sort of comfort, you might look at their life and go, oh, look, they did that exciting thing or that exciting thing or that cool thing, and it's quite attractive externally, but when you get to know them, you don't really end up wanting to have their life because of that shallowness, and they end up sort of in my experience anyway, they end up seeing the shallowness of their ways as well.
Yeah.
How are you going?
Unrelated
got anything
one.
else, or-
Yeah. Unrelated. Do I have any others?
Maybe let's go a bit faster then, I reckon.
Yeah. Okay. So
might
this
be-
will be a quick one.
Yep.
So there's a church that's been using our space as well. The Persian congregation.
Yep.
Someone just messaged and said, how are they going? Like how do they go during lockdown? And they've asked about, is there a way that we could be supporting them as members of St. John's, or, is it going to be any situation where we mix in the future? Maybe connect with them.
Yeah. Thanks for the question.
I can,
Yeah,
So
the-
I've actually met with them.
Yeah.
I met
cool.
with them. I did some tech training with them because obviously they're using our worship center. They're using our space. So yeah, I
Saturday
met
nights, yeah.
met a number of them. They're really nice people, really lovely. A few of them want to come along to one of our services to get some more hands-on training because there's only so much training you can do on tech when there's no one else in the building. But they're good. In terms of how they're going during lockdown, I'm not sure. They're not here during lockdown, so they might be meeting on Zoom or something else. I don't know what their lockdown policy is. And in terms of ways you can support them, keep praying for them. That's definitely a big one. But they'd be bigger than us. Like any given one of our services, they would like
Combined?
They've got like
Everyone all in?
combined, no, but they'd be bigger than our morning service most weeks.
Wow,
I'd say.
cool.
Yeah. So it's not. I don't know.
They're not
That
like
doesn't-
this.
numbers
Don't
mean
picture
everything,
this
but-
tiny.
Get some tips off of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's early days, so we'll get to know them better. I'm sure we'll have a chance to meet with them.
Yeah.
But lockdowns are sort of.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was
startled
like,
things.
With the lockdowns, I
Yeah.
think they've actually only met 3 or 4 times here.
yeah, I was thinking the
So-
same thing.
We'll get to know them better as we go. But yeah. Lockdowns are slowing that a fair bit.
They are planning a baptism service in the next few weeks.
Oh, cool.
Which was very exciting. In fact, I think it's next week. Which it might not happen.
might get
but,
postponed,
But
we'll see.
they've got people wanting to be baptized.
Which is
so
great.
that's an excellent sign
Hey,
of health
yeah.
for that church.
Another for Jesus,
Yeah.
Yeah. Just off lockdown chats, can the panelists reflect on what's been helpful or encouraging to them walking with Jesus during the lockdown? This current lockdown is pretty disappointing and may be comforting to hear, and reflect on what helps you draw closer to Jesus in the disappointment and frustration. So what's been helpful and encouraging you guys walking with Jesus during lockdown?
I give you a couple of something I do, a couple of things I don't do. I like to start the day. We're pretty media saturated anyway as a society, but particularly when you're in lockdown and there's not much interacting generally, it's tempting to just get on your devices very quickly in the start of the day. So I will try and have the first bit of media interaction I have to be some sort of biblical content. So whether I'm reading the Bible app itself or listening to a theological podcast, the Bible app, the Bible Project or the Baymar podcast are my 2 go-tos during lockdown at the moment. Just that bit of input, people who love Jesus talking about Jesus has been really good. So I like to have that before I get onto any sort of website or any other app or whatever, have that as my input at the start of the day. Find that very encouraging. And I'm listening to ones that were recorded before lockdowns
Yeah.
and pandemic, so they're sort of removed from those circumstances, which is nice. I don't ride the case numbers day by day. So if people tell me what they are, that's how I find out about them, but I don't check them. And I don't really follow headlines day by day either. So I just find I'm a bit sick of it. I'm a bit sick of the attention-grabbing headlines. I think they're very clickbaity, and they're basically trying to get us to read their articles because that links them to advertising, and they just want their numbers up. So they're trying to make me worried and click it, or angry and click it. Likewise with the TV news bulletins. So I sort of avoid those. I do find ways to get the news, but I don't check in regularly with it, because I just found I was getting annoyed or anxious or straight up angry. So reducing that input and being more selective, I found has made me a more peaceful person, and allowed me to be more generous to people and have a more optimistic attitude, I think. And just help me to sort of pray for situations and stuff rather than just get angry or all the time, or just go, they should be doing this.
Yeah.
Why aren't they doing this? All the time. Suddenly be an expert on everything, like we all seem to be. Yeah.
Do you have anything Bryce, that comes to mind?
Oh, I mean, one thing I did for the first time, which is not helpful, particularly in lockdown or anything, but it's something that's actually been very helpful for me, which I was surprised of. So as part of being employed by the church, we have retreat days, which is a whole day where you don't come into the office. And for us at St John's, we've got a location that we can go to in Cottles Bridge, which is this beautiful house, and you can go out there and just spend the day with God and not have any sort of expectations set on you. Now, obviously, this is not going to be relevant for most people. You're not going. Well, I mean, I couldn't go to Cottles Bridge now, but the concept, I think, is still applicable. If you can find space to just disconnect, and as Kirk was saying, disconnect from media and not ride cases and not refresh Twitter all day or whatever, and just have that intentional time of stopping and slowing down. And I mean, in some ways, lockdown makes it easier because we don't have social events to be going to. We don't have commute times. And so, you can clock off and say, all right, for the next 2 hours, I'm going to go offline and I'm going to pray and maybe read a book or something, a spiritual book, whether that's the Bible or another sort of devotion or something. And it might be a really good time for you to start investigating what it would be to practice the Sabbath, and that's something that I've never personally been able to implement, even though I've tried a number of times, but still trying to make space in some way. Kirk, did you do a talk on the Sabbath? Because I know you've got,
Well, if you go back in the archives, podcast archives, you could find one.
And that's always stuck with me, how you and your family really intentionally do a Sabbath together. And again, it's not been something I've successfully done in my own life, but still, being able to carve out time and space for that. The other thing that I've done is when I am engrossed in Twitter or whatever, that I've tried to follow other Christian things, and one in particular that I've really appreciated more recently is on Twitter. It's called No Context Book of Common Prayer, and so it's the prayer book. I think it's the English version, but it's just like one tweet worth of prayer book, and it's just really encouraging prayers and statements about God, and sometimes they're just really basic. It's like, oh God of all creation, sustain us this day, or something like that. And it's like, do sustain me today. Like, you are the God of creation. And it's just, it'll just come up randomly in your feed, but it's just those little encouragements. So, sprinkle Christian content in your media feeds. That's always good.
Yeah. No, that's nice.
Yeah.
I think for me, I started practicing Sabbath last year in lockdown. Baymar did do a really great piece on that, and it changed my life. Like, and just the way, because like I'd heard the talks about Sabbath, I'd heard other people talk about it, and I was like, and then this, I was like, whoa, that was unreal. So I've been practicing that. My cats are sick and needing a lot of extra care at the moment, so that's kind of interrupted that. But something that I try to do every day is to be thankful for things and think about the things that I am thankful for. And when Jet and I pray together before we have dinner, like we'll often just mention those things in our prayers. So like we'll pray for COVID, obviously different situations at work or whatever. And we list some things that we're really thankful for that day. And that's nice. Because even in lockdown, there are still things that are, good that happen.
Yep, absolutely. That's it. And it's a good attitude to have, to realise, not everything's bad.
I think the other thing is, and people get really sucked into this, just with lots of things, but particularly like with these big events, is like blaming God for it as well. I've noticed that, like, people just want to blame God or, say that this is God putting his judgment out on us or whatever. And it's just, like, I think about, my relationship with God, and I'm just like, that's not the God that I know. And that's, if you look at the Bible, like, no. So just being wary of that, because I just see that every time there's a lockdown or, when it was all sort of kicking off back here, saw some pretty wacko opinions about it, that I was like, I don't think this is helpful. So even when you do see those things, just being like, actually, no, like,
Yeah, I guess knee-jerk theological conclusions about world events. Understandable why people couldn't be frustrated and say things.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't blame God for this. Like, I don't know. I don't think that personally. I don't find that helpful or true in terms of the God that I know. I'm like, that doesn't sound like God. Like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't match up with the God that I know. So I'm like, well, that's not helpful. Yeah.
Oh, we could talk about that for an hour, but we won't. I think we'll finish.
Yeah, it's like there's that.
20 to 7.
There's one other
ready.
thing there, but it's not directly related to the other stuff it didn't tie in as well. So maybe it's something we can come back to.
Circle back. We might do another one. Possibly we will see you live on digital next week. Possibly we'll be live back in person. We don't know.
Hopefully.
But thanks to our tech team. Thanks to everyone
Yes,
for
massive thanks.
chiming in and joining us live, or if you're watching us later on, great to see you too. And get on our website, get connected if you're not already, so you can hear all those updates. Bye for now.